conditional claim, the levels of contamination quality within those water supplies. Okay, what in the world does it mean? Dr. Cameron, you just lost me. You have to sort of toggle back through your notes. For me, I've been presenting these notes, on different days. I haven't constructed this. This series probably took me maybe 5 or 6 shootings to complete. And I have an ability, because I've programmed myself in such a way to remember these things, so I can't point to the specific pages. It wouldn't make sense. But I remember, and it is in your notes, so you can find this in your notes. Pause it after I say it and locate it in your notes if you so choose. When we did our hypothetical syllogism in the previous section, it was if A, then B, if B, then C, therefore if A, then C. We recognize that this second antecedent, the affirmation, part 3, the affirmation of the second antecedent, led us to what was an arbitrary claim, right? Remember, this was an arbitrary claim. The arbitrary claim that I selected, I forget what page that was the relationship between B, which was an increased population, and the arbitrary claim of its relationship conditionally to increase water contamination. So that the final claim was something along, or the final conditional claim was something along the lines of, as the population increases, so too does the likelihood for water contamination increase or water pollution increase. So the correlation was a conditional correlation between an increase in population and a corresponding increase in water contamination. You'll have to find that in your notes for yourself. I don't remember where it came up. I just remember it, right? The logic, fortunately, is rigorous enough to allow me to remember it. So that's what we're looking at here, right? What we're seeing is that there is a relationship between increased population and the arbitrary relationship between increased water contamination. The whole point of this argument, as we're seeing, is twofold. We're attempting to persuade the reader very quickly, very concisely, very succinctly of two things. One, we need to care for the quantity of water that we have remaining in the water table. Water quantity is important. Why is water quantity important? Because, as we've stated in the first conditional claim of our hypothetical syllogism from the previous section, there is a direct relationship between population sustainability and the ability to sustain that population with water, with groundwater pumping. Pump more water, you can have a bigger population, right? So it's important to recognize that quantity is important. If there isn't enough water quantity, then you can't support any more population. So quantity is the first aspect of water conservation that's important. That's what we're saying. Second thing that's important in this argument that is really going to prove to be a very, very consolidated, extremely succinct argument is going to be that water quality is important. Why is that important? We preserved a lot of this in our hypothetical syllogism because it introduces, I didn't say this explicitly then because I wanted to save it for now, but it in and of itself allows us to address simultaneously the conservationist efforts for both quantity and quality. Unfortunately, however, in this line, the second conditional claim of our previous hypothetical syllogism, we saw that one author at least said that the correlation between increased population growth and increased water contamination isn't as explicit as you might think. Okay. That leads us now, with that summary said, to our final section, the disjunctive syllogism, which is going to try and still keep quality in mind. We've already satisfied quantity. Quality. So the claim becomes a disjunctive, mutually exclusive disjunctive claim. Either you try to regulate population growth, or you regulate the behavior of the population. Why would you need to do that? If water quality, contamination and pollution, is important, right? you see then that there is an inherent link between the disjunctive claim that we are now going to formalize and the previous second conditional in the hypothetical syllogism. And it has to do with the population level. So that's what we're going to look at. Again, as I said, it's not, now you can see, okay, we're not talking about going to the movies or eating at the restaurant, right? But it's very simple still. I don't want to confuse you. For those of you that could follow that, good. For those of you who couldn't follow that, don't stress it. The idea is basically to consolidate it and make it super simple, because what I just said was rather not simple, though it was coherent, is that now we've prepped the condition to say either this happens or that happens. And either one that you pick, this thing that you select is going to help us maintain water quality. Either you regulate the population, which will help us maintain water quality, or Quality, not quantity, quality. Or you pick, or you try to persuade and influence the population so that they change the way in which they behave, and that will, so both of these, which is good, this is good, so you'll see it. This is another way to say it, right? A or B is not an end in itself. A and B, both of these are means. What is the end? The end that we want, the telos, the goal, the objective, is to get increased water quality, which obviously is a decrease in water pollution and water contamination, duh, obviously, right? So what we want to do is, if you select A, either or, if you select A, you select A because it becomes the means to water quality. Or, if you select B, B becomes the means to water quality as an end. That's what we're doing. I didn't think of it until just now, and I was like, that will really, that's like the ghetto version, right? It'll really make it very clear what it is that we're doing. We are attempting in the disjunct now to select the best means to facilitate the desired end state. The desired end state is, we've already satisfied quantity. Now we need to satisfy the best means of water quality. We have two options. Control the population growth or control the population growth or control the way in which the population behaves. Either of these could potentially lead to increased water quality. Let's select the best one. Which one happens to be the best one, given the information that we have so far. So that should be clear what we're doing. Top of page 21. We extract the implication, right? There was a lot written on the previous page. We don't need to have all of that. We just need the direct implication that we are going to use specifically for our disjunctive syllogism, and that is, quote, A, either we attempt to regulate population growth, or we attempt to regulate their behavior. That's all we need. It's in the perfect form. That is our implication. We use that to build the rest, as I said before. Right? And that will assume the form of that. So note, in writing this previous sentence, prior to the application of disjunctive syllogism, I personally knew that the argument would have to assume the form of disjunctive syllogism. I know what's coming next. After hypothetical syllogism, I know I'm going to use disjunctive syllogism. I know the form that disjunctive syllogism takes, A or B, not A, therefore B. I know that it takes that form. Obviously, then, I can, or should, recognize that I place as disjunct 1, this is disjunct 1, I place as disjunct 1 the claim that I would ultimately deny. Why do I tell you this? I tell you this because I want you to be able to apply this. Again, this is not about me demonstrating, my intuitive abilities. This is about me showing you step by step, rather arduously, the process in which you can apply this. So you need to know why I did what I did. Why did Dr. Campbell say either population growth or population sort of behavioral control? Why did he put population growth here and not behavioral control here? I did that, and I only tell you this because this is